So finally we were graced with Attack on Titan, No Regrets, or Birth of Levi OVA 1. Now this is one OVA out of so far 2 scheduled OVAs to be adapting from. I believe it was the source material was actually a visual novel, if I'm not mistaken, but it was also turned into a manga as well. I talked about the first chapter a long time ago, but the actual anime, which, you know, when it comes to Attack on Titan, the anime is totally different from the manga or any other experience. So coming into this, I was actually really excited to see it, and what they did with it, to be honest with you, with adapting it. For starters, it was a little bit different than what I remember from the manga, and ultimately they gave it that touch that makes Attack on Titan as far as, you know, the visuals and just when they're swinging around on the 3D maneuver gear, just giving it that flair. Now, one of the things to note is that OVAs sometimes are done by different studios, but this is actually done by the same exact studio that does the main series Attack on Titan, so no worries there as far as a dip in quality, and the art and animation, it looked basically the same, although for now the only thing I'm seeing is a 480 rip of it. I don't see actually a 720, but I'm imagining the HD version looks just as clean as the Attack on Titan main series. So if you're a little bit confused as to what this is about, this is basically an origin story about Levi, his life prior to basically becoming a part of the Survey Corps, and what was going on with him in the past. Just a little more exposition as to who his character is and where he comes from. And another thing to note is that the setting and location of this is actually not on top of the ground, oddly enough, because this is basically underground for the most part, at least for this OVA. So if you're expecting any Titans in this one, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because there are no Titans in this, because again, this is Levi's story prior to him actually being, you know, fighting the Titans or whatever, although the next OVA might actually get to some of that, I'm not exactly sure. And from what we got in this one, it seems as though there's going to be 3 main characters, possibly a few more later on down the road. There's Levi, of course, Farlong, and Isabel, and these characters, for the most part, we get introduced. A lot of the OVA definitely was focusing on getting introduced as Isabel character and getting more of Levi's characterization, that he was even more hardened than the Levi we know from the anime. I mean, in the anime, you know, what we've seen thus far, he's a badass. He was a fucking epic motherfucker. But here, he was like, when the dude went to try and rape Isabel, the chick that was there, he basically stabs his hand. So you can see that Levi was just as cold back then, and that's where he came from, because this world and kind of the world building that they did as far as his homeland or whatever, underground, because this is basically, you know, connected to what happened basically on the top of the land. Everybody that has money and everything is up there, and they're protected by the walls, and then underground, a lot of poor people, homeless people live down there, and the structure is just really fucked up, how they have to pay money, and ultimately they can only go to the surface for a little bit, and they have to do things like tremendous amount of things to get some citizenship, so they can never really truly live on the surface. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Magi, the Magnustar arc, where we found out about that underground civilization where these people were just basically trapped down there. Except this one was a little more fucked up, because it felt slightly more grounded to reality, where people were just fucked up down there. They were, you know, pickpocketing, they will stab you, they're raping, and like motherfuckers were talking about raping like it was nothing. So definitely the world building as far as this underground, you know, society and whatnot, it's really fucked up. And in all honesty, while it's not Attack on Titan with Titans, the humans are fucked up in this one. And yeah, seeing what Levi is now, I don't blame him, and it all makes sense, him, if he was brought up down there. And seeing the first time that Levi met Erwin and why he joined the Survey Corps and everything, this OVA, definitely for what it covered, it was really interesting getting more of these characters and whatnot. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised, because in the main series, we never heard of any of these characters. We never heard of Farlon, and we never heard of Isabel, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised if maybe towards the end of this or later on down the road, these characters are going to die, maybe in a mission or something, because again, at the end, they're all inducted into the Survey Corps, so I wouldn't be surprised if later on something happens to them, and that makes Levi even more cold. And maybe it might connect, because Isabel kind of reminds me a little bit of Petra, and maybe that's why Levi, he wasn't completely broken or anything, but you could definitely see that he felt something when he had to get rid of Petra and everything. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's connected, something later on down the road. Definitely a lot of good setup, and overall it was a very good first OVA. I argue a little bit that the beginning, they kind of rehashed the material that later on they would show again, and they did that probably for more cinematic and epic feel, but it kind of took away from time that we could have got with some other things. So unfortunately, it was like, yeah, those first few minutes where they're, you know, gliding, and they're like, oh, they're coming for us and everything, that could have been used for something else. So that was one thing that I was kind of a little bit like, oh, we wasted some time. This is only, you know, 2 OVA series, so we could have used all the, you know, we needed all the time we can get. So that was one of the things about it. But aside from that, very good first OVA, getting more of Levi's character. And I mean, he's Levi at the end of the day. Finding out his backstory, him living in this fucked up world, very interesting stuff. But again, if you're looking for Titans, you're not going to get that in this, at the very least, first OVA, because it is mainly his story, him being on the ground, this, you know, civilization, and it's a little bit different from the Attack on Titan we know. Although there are familiar faces, again, with Erwin showing up and kind of, you know, the situation Levi's in right now. Who knows, maybe we'll see Pixies and a couple other characters, but as of right now, the only characters from the main series in this one is Levi and Erwin. And as a whole, it was just a really good first episode, or first OVA, whatever you want to call it. There's only 2 confirmed. I wouldn't be surprised if they added in a 3rd one to stretch out more of the material, because I think there's only a few volumes, so maybe they can do it all in these few OVAs. I'm not sure, but either way, it was just really a good thing to start off with, getting a little bit of action in there, not too much, not too, you know, crazy, whatever, and a lot of good setup. So I'm gonna give this one maybe, I would say, an 8.5 out of 10. Very good start, getting, you know, just this fucked up situation. And I don't blame Levi for wanting to get out of there ASAP. Having that opportunity, I would book out of there as well. It is just a fucked up place. Then again, if you think about it, he's booking out of there so that he can go to a surface that is surrounded by man-eating giants. Yeah, this is a terrible world they're living in. But if you've seen it, let me know what you think, seeing Levi in his younger days and how everything started with him being a part of the Survey Corps. And what do you think about kind of him being basically forced into the situation? If not, his people were going to get, you know, and him included, put in jail and stuff like that. What do you think about this first OVA? Are you excited to see this, or are you a little put off that there's no Titans so far? What are your thoughts? That's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.